Welcome to Tech Talks, Evolving Distribution. I'm Corey Hayes, and with me is Bill Rosado. Today, we're exploring how digital transformation is reshaping the distribution industry.
That's right. From e-commerce platforms to CRM tools, we talk with industry experts about how distribution can embrace these changes and thrive in the ever-changing space.
Whether you're just getting started or looking for new insights, we've got you covered. Today's episode is packed with information to help you navigate the digital shift.
So let the tech talk begin.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time you're tuning in to join us on this Tech Talks. I'm Corey Hayes. Alongside me is Bill Rosado. And thank you for tuning in. And today with us, we have the founder of Goldleaf, Grant. And I got to tell you, Grant, I think you win the award for the most unique last name on the podcast so far. So how do I pronounce your last name?
Well, I say Holohan.
Holohan. All right. I was either that. I was 50-50 between Hola or Hulahan. So
I think
if
if
they're
you say
related.
Holohan, what do other people say, Grant?
Oh, I've heard lots. Houlihan or I don't know, a few other ones that have slipped. Hooligan comes up every now and then. I
Hooligan.
think they might be related.
Well,
I have the
thank
same
you.
thing with Rosado. I get Rosado, all kinds of things. And I'm like, there's a
Rosado.
D, no T.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, Grant, thanks for jumping on today and joining the conversation. We know a lot about Goldleaf, but really what we want to do is get into a conversation with you just about what you've seen in the digital shift and digital transformation through the vehicle in the way of Goldleaf today. But before we jump deep into that, why don't you just introduce yourself to the listener? Tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us a little bit about Goldleaf and what's got you to this point in your career.
Yeah, cool, for sure. I mean, it's the story kind of wraps up with how did a guy with no real software formal training end up starting a couple of software companies? Um, but if you go back a couple decades, I've got a mechanical engineering degree, and I spent some time working for a forestry equipment manufacturer, and that's where I started learning about hydraulics. And fast forward a bit, I worked at a mining consulting company, and we did some engineering there, also in hydraulics and machine design. And then about maybe 13 years ago, I took a bit of a shift and was looking for something different, and started working at a small company that was selling hydraulic hose. They go by the name Multi-Flow Solutions now. I spent 11 years there, and I was in charge of the engineering team and the outside sales team when it all wrapped up. But through the course there of really understanding a small business and all the challenges that go along with, specifically in that space, hose assemblies and all the data involved, um, led me to kind of want to start something new a couple years ago. And I've always been a passionate software developer. Everywhere I've worked, I've always built cool code, cool program, cool processes and scripts and stuff. And um, so just kind of thought it was the time to try something new. And I've in my struggles there, I always found that there seemed to be a tool that could kind of help configure hose assemblies, and we did a lot of them for OEMs especially. And so yeah, after I left there, decided to pivot into kind of a passion of mine, which has always been software, and started Goldleaf App to build a tool like that people could bring to their organizations.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's get into the conversation a little bit today. Again, thanks for jumping on. So really just in the world of digital transformation and however you want to take this, what challenges have you seen that companies have and distributors have when it comes to digital transformation?
Well, I mean, there's always a hesitancy for people to make any kind of a change. And so, specifically with introducing a new tool, and so if we're talking about like a configuration tool, like a hose builder tool, people have ways of doing things. And as you guys have seen, people don't really like to change unless there's a reason to change. I
Mm.
mean, does that fit with what you guys are seeing?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
And sometimes even if there's a reason, they still don't like it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so like that's the first hurdle is, well, we already do it a certain way. Why is this going to be better?
Mhm.
And for some people it's not. For some people the way that they're doing stuff is like, we write it on a sheet of paper and we take it out to the guy in the shop and he builds it and we don't have problems and we're happy and our customers are happy. And to those guys they say, great, you got a system that's working for you. Um, but I would say more people than not, are sort of interested in their appetite for like what else is out there and what tools exist that could make me more efficient, could make my team more efficient. Um, and so, yeah, the first challenge I'd say is like recognizing that there might be an issue, and then once okay, now we want to adopt something new. Now the challenges are there's. I mean, you guys have seen more than anybody. There's tons of challenges that come up. Like, um, a big first one that comes up is if we're talking about hose assemblies. There's a
Mm.
ton of data around hose assemblies for a given distributor or manufacturer, just in like which ones you use, which hoses you use. Let's say you sell one brand of hose and they have 500 different hose types you could buy, but you only buy this type of cover or this type in that size range, or we don't even buy that size range. And so usually there's a couple of key people in the organization that know all that. And so now you have to ask those people to sort of relinquish control over being the gatekeeper of all that data for that company. And there's people that don't like that.
Mm.
Um, there's people that value their own position in the organization based on that they're the ones that know that. And so you've on the one hand, you've got, an owner, for example, of a company that's like, yeah, this is a cool tool. We want to use this. This is going to make us better. But their right hand person is like, well, I don't know if we do that, then I'm not as
Mm.
valuable anymore here. So that challenge, right, is getting the buy-in from people that, hey, you don't have to worry about this new tool kind of taking your job away. This is a tool that's going to enhance your job and make your job easier for you, right? And spread around and let your company grow because now you have the ability to, instead of everything have to funnel through one person, now you've got your knowledge base you can share with your whole company. So yeah, definitely the personalities are can be a challenge, and then even so, once you start to implement it, I don't know, what do you guys see? I see that there's times where people are like, I just don't have the manpower to set
Mhm.
it yet.
Yeah, yeah. So what we see a lot of times, this is kind of on the stall the project, right? That we never start a project because they talk about just manpower is a challenge, right? They don't have enough bandwidth. But then you're right. Some people just don't adopt even the idea of it. So even if you do have bandwidth, trying to get someone to adopt the idea that it's change, right? Change management
Yeah,
is tough.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, and kind of just to tag on to another idea, because that probably is the primary thing that we see. But to follow up with the secondary is the customer understanding like ROI clarity. I think that sometimes people get tasked, well, go look for a digital tool that will help us in our company, and then when that person presents digital tools that they discover and they find back to their CEO, the main question is, well, how is this actually
Mm,
going to help us save time? How is this going to help us save money? Can you show me actual analytics? And I think that sometimes it's easy to say in our situation, e-commerce, well, you got X amount of dollars in a cart that our customers have on average
mm,
receive X amount of dollars in a cart. But when you start talking about configurations and you start talking about tools and you start talking about time savers, it's kind of hard for some people to really get their mind and their arms around how digital tools saving time
mm.
and saving people energy and effort, and kind of like you're talking about right there, not bottlenecking us to, hey, Bob knows is the only one that knows these configurations. You
Yeah,
know, where you get to open that door and open the I guess, for lack of a better term, the floodways to where now we have more help, now we have more resources. Sometimes it's difficult for them to really wrap their arms around the ROI in that. And
yeah,
and I understand that. Analytical people want to see real data. And sometimes it's out there, sometimes it's provable, and then other times you've really got to conceptualize it and allow people to understand what it really means as a concept.
yeah. That's fair.
So,
I see that all the time because, for example, what we're offering is hard to put a concrete number on that says, hey,
right,
here's the value proposition on the ROI. Whereas for us, it's more like hey, here's a thing you couldn't do before.
right.
So
Right.
like we have, you can make a drawing for a hose assembly in a few seconds and have
Mhm.
a professional drawing made up. You can do drawings now. Like lots of people make engineering drawings, but you need specialized people, you need specialized software usually, and then you've got a ton of data that you've got to manually put in there and make sure it all cross references. Whereas now you can hit a button and all that data comes from the same source. It all populates it. It's all formatted the right way.
Yeah.
I guess you could probably try to quantify that with how much time it would take someone, but
Yeah.
again, that's sort of like wishy-washy as well, right?
Mm.
So yeah, I see that.
Yeah, so we run into that, and so what we try to get people to understand is if you can break down your processes in a matter of minutes, then you can really start to understand how much time you're actually spending on things that could be automated, that could be expedited, and then you really get to build a an idea for them of what they could actually focus on in other areas, in other revenue building areas, or other customers that need help. And
Yeah,
that's kind of the focus that we take when it comes to the idea of ROI surrounding time.
that's cool.
And I think that that's probably what you've experienced a lot too, is just allowing customers, freeing them up to spend time in areas where they really need to spend time. So
Yeah, I 100%
yeah,
spot on.
yeah,
Yeah, and people right now, like AI's the hot button, right? There's a certain generation that think it's replacing their jobs. But automation and the tool like you're talking about, it isn't replacing some job, it's making it easier. The person that's going to use it is going to be successful. The person that's ignoring it is going to fall behind.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I mean, it's been like that time and time again over the years. When a new tool comes out, there's a bit of a panic, like you said with AI, and then the people that embrace it learn what its strengths are and what its weaknesses are, and they use it to their advantage, and it frees them up to do more, more than they could
mhm.
have done before.
Yeah.
And I think that while it's certainly a powerful tool, I do think that I don't know if it's just because it's been Hollywoodized or whatever. I think that the idea surrounding AI is kind of that like it works like magic. And even though it's very powerful, there is still a process in place to get it to work appropriately for you. You
Mm,
still need to have resources and tools in your corner that allow
yeah,
automation and allow AI to work in your favor. Because it's not just something that you just plug in, turn on, there you go, everything's perfect.
yeah,
There's a process. And that's I guess what I would want anybody to listen that's listening to this to understand, even though AI is coming and it's coming fast, you really take time to understand how can AI work for your business? How can automation tools, digital tools work for your business? And understand that even though there are automations in place and they're coming, they still require your hand and they require your team's hand in making them work the way you want them to work. What you're
yeah.
talking about with manual data, getting that put in is a perfect
So
example.
that reminds me of a story from a couple stories there that I'll be brief on. But one,
Mhm.
um, years ago, I was looking at somebody's resume, and one of the skills they had listed, this is like 10, 15 years ago, one of their skills was proficient at using the internet. I, I didn't know how to handle that, right? Like, what does that even mean? Like, you can Google well, or um, and the other one that um, came to mind is so I was working somewhere. This is a few years ago now, and I was looking for a data sheet or a
Hmm.
drawing from a catalog, and we had catalogs on the shelf behind me. We had all sorts of catalogs from over the years. I was working with someone who's a few years older than me, but not tremendously older, and I needed this catalog. I needed this data sheet, and so I just Googled the part number, and boom, up pops the most recent PDF,
Hmm.
and I download it. And it, the reason I thought it was funny is because the gentleman I was working with would refer to it as Grant's trick. And I'm like,
Oh,
that's not my trick. I'm just using Google. Like,
just
that's just
using
a tool to find stuff. It's not a
yeah,
trick. There's definitely no trick. But I think that's
Oh,
what AI is going to be like, right? Or what it is, or what it's becoming.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's not a trick. You can ask it questions, and most of the time get a pretty okay answer, maybe a good
yeah,
answer. There's also
So,
I've stumbled for like hours trying to troubleshoot
right,
stuff and realize that AI has no idea and it's been hallucinating the whole time, telling me
yep,
stuff that isn't true. So, you got to use a little bit of critical thinking there too.
yeah.
so in the intro, when you kind of explained, at no point did you say anything about being a magician. So I don't know if you guys want to like stop here and restart it.
Should have
Grant was
called
a
gold.
magician.
Should have called Goldleaf Grant's tricks.
That's right. That's right.
So
All right, so we talked about
yeah,
some of the challenges, right? Tell us about success, right? With a tool like yours, right? What are some of the successes that some of your customers are gaining from that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the one of the first and easiest success is like I mentioned before, is being able to make drawings really fast for people. One of our clients was like, they came to me and they said, "We know that we want to have professional drawings. We're a large organization and we don't have professional hose drawings. We build hydraulic equipment, even we build power units, we build things, and we don't provide any kind of drawing packages with it." And so the availability to just store the data and make drawings right away, that's a big one. We've got another client who um, they don't have in their ERP system any kind of a hose configuration tool of any kind. And so for them, when they were quoting parts, quoting assemblies, there's a bit of a hand waving exercise with how to figure out the pricing on them. And they use Goldleaf to generate consistent pricing for their OEM customers. I mean, nothing's worse than looking foolish in front of a customer when
Mm.
you've quoted them a price for a hose assembly, and then like a year later they come back and ask for a quote for a different hose assembly under a different part number, but it's the same thing, but like maybe 1 inch different in length. And somebody different is quoting that hose assembly that day, and you get a price that's like 30% off. And now your customer sees it and they come back and they're like, "Well, hold on a second. Like, how are you even pricing me? Are you
Mm.
ripping me off now? Were you ripping me off for the last little while?" And so people are using Goldleaf to be able to get that consistent pricing and include things like scrap and all the different labor types that are associated with hoses, like wrapping labor and testing and that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, that's. I mean, there's a couple of key ones there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Awesome.
sure you said hand waving to get a price.
Hand weaving.
Another magician trick.
Yeah.
Yes, smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Um, and then
Yes.
the cool thing is, like, so when I started Goldleaf, my background in engineering and in OEM business was like, let's have a internal tool that our team can use so that we can keep track of our own data. And that's kind of what it was. It was, it is a web-based tool, but it was an internal web-based tool that, your organization, your users would log in and use. Um, but as I've kind of worked away at it, a lot of people have shown interest in something that's available to their customers, right?
Mm.
And so, we have that now where people can have their customers log into their website or through an e-commerce portal and configure a hose assembly the way they would, and it's all configured based on their organization's styles and stuff. So people are starting to expect that, and I think that's, I think it's good. I mean, like, in the world of self-checkouts at the grocery store, you love them or hate them, but they're there.
Right.
And I know that there's times when I don't want to go to the self-checkout. There's times when I want the cashier to bring up all my produce because I don't want to figure out the codes or whatever, And but there's times when you're buying two or three things and you're like, I know what I want. These are the things I want. I just want to check out and be done. And there's 45 self-checkouts and there's 3 cashiers. So what's faster? And I
Yeah.
think everybody's like that now. And so to be able to have like a in-depth, robust configuration tool on your website, um, when customers know what they want, it saves them time.
Yeah.
It also makes it a lot simpler for them, right? Because when we talk hose configurations, and just to be clear, if you're not a hoser, right, you don't understand how actual complicated it is to make sure you're going to get the right components to that assembly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really touched on that, but when I started working at the hose assembly fabricator, I was floored that I had to look in 3 different catalogs to build a single hose assembly. Like, you got to look in the hose catalog to find out what types of fittings go with it, and then you got to look in the fitting catalog to figure out what all the cut allowances is to are to figure out your overall length. And then you've got to pull up a crimp spec catalog to get the crimp specs to know how to crimp those fittings onto that hose just to do a single hose. And then you have to repeat that for every different type of hose and every different type of fitting. And then you add to that all the different, like, you got straights and 90s and 45s. You have all the different types of connections. And then you have jump sizes. So it's not even like it's always the same size. So there are like in Goldleaf, we've got over 50,000 catalog items loaded from main brands because there's just that many different parts. And so to be able to line up what's allowed to go with what, and I mean, this is a serious safety thing, right? If somebody puts the wrong end on a hose and they don't crimp it properly, and you have a hose end failure or the end of a hose blows off the hose and that hose whips, people have been injured or killed, and will continue to be if
Wow.
people aren't making their assemblies right. So it is serious, and it's a safety thing. And so it's important that people are making these right, for sure. And any manufacturer will tell you that same thing.
Wow. Well,
Yes, safety first.
yeah.
And using a tool like that is so important.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead,
mean,
Corey. So,
no, you're great. You're great. So I really just to kind of, and you've touched on several things. What is maybe you take this as an opportunity to recap? What is the biggest tip that you would give a company looking to embark on a digital transformation journey? What's that one thing that you put on a billboard, put on a T-shirt, and say this is what you've got to pay attention to?
I mean, the biggest tip is for anybody with this is don't stay comfortable with where you are, and look at what the other opportunities are out there. There are new tools being generated all the time. Goldleaf's only been out for about 16 months or so in live production. So there's people making stuff. Check them out. Do your homework, and there's probably tools out there to help your business that you don't even know about yet.
So can you break that down into like condense that down to where you could put it on a T-shirt and at NAHAD next year you'll have one of those shirts for me to wear?
Yeah, it might be a front and back, but yeah, we'll make it work.
Front back with a continued, and you have a shirt that they have a second shirt they gotta buy.
That's right. That's right.
And then put a trademark on Grant's Tricks and get that up in the corner on the logo.
Smoke and
There you
mirrors.
go.
Well, I'm thinking after this conversation, I'm thinking actually it is the Hoser Magician, Grant.
Oh,
The Hoser Magician.
We'll have to
I like
check the
that.
trademarks on that.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and you have to update your LinkedIn page.
So last question I'll ask you, Grant. How can we, if somebody's listening wants to get to know more information on Goldleaf, get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out, get information on what Goldleaf does?
Yeah, sure. They can find me on LinkedIn, or they can just go to goldleaf.app.
Okay.
And read more there. And they can sign up for a free trial and kind of see what it's all about and reach out. And yeah, we'd be happy to give them some demos too.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Bill, do you have any other questions or thoughts?
No, I mean, my only thing is I really appreciate you coming on, Grant, right? Helping the community out, right? As hosers, right? We got to help other hosers out. And I appreciate you coming on, sharing your information.
Well, thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for jumping on and listening. Hope that you enjoyed this another Tech Talk conversation, and we will see you next time. Remember, we post new recordings every first and third Thursday of the month. So be on the lookout for the next Tech Talk coming your way. All right. Have a good one. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Tech Talks Evolving Distribution. Thanks for tuning in.
And we hope you've gained some valuable insights on how to embrace digital transformation and stay ahead in the distribution industry.
A special thanks to our sponsor, Aldrich Web Solutions, for supporting this podcast. With over 20 years of experience, they've been helping distributors win online and maximize their digital presence. Be sure to check them out if you're ready to take your business to the next level.
And if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And of course, share this with anyone who could benefit from this conversation.
We'll be back next time with more expert insights. And until then, keep evolving and embracing change.